The morning light hit the Crystal Spire Healing Center like liquid gold. The massive structure stretched into the purple sky of Valdoria Prime, its walls made of living crystal that pulsed with soft healing energy. Ships from across the galaxy docked at floating platforms around the tower, bringing the sick and wounded from hundreds of worlds. Inside the main lobby, alien beings of every shape and size moved with purpose. 4 armed Scalathi medics carried floating stretchers, crystalline. Nerion healers hummed in harmonic frequencies that mended bones. Gas form. Wisp entities drifted through the air, their translucent bodies glowing as they diagnosed patients with thought alone. This was the greatest medical facility in known space. Here, diseases that had plagued civilizations for millennia were cured in hours. Here, the most advanced minds in the galaxy worked together to push the boundaries of healing science. And into this temple of advanced medicine walked Taimin. He looked small among the towering aliens. His black hair was cut short and neat. His brown eyes took in everything around him with quiet curiosity. He wore the simple gray uniform of a caretaker, the lowest rank in the medical hierarchy. His hands were rough and calloused from years of work. The other staff barely noticed him as he approached the reception desk. The receptionist was a tall, blue-skinned Valdorian with 6 arms and eyes that glowed like stars. She looked down at Taimin with barely hidden annoyance. "You are the new human," she said in the common galactic language. Her voice carried the musical quality all Valdorians possessed. "Report to Elder Kiwu for assignment." Taimin nodded politely. "Thank you," he said in careful, measured words. The receptionist waved one of her 6 hands dismissively. "Third floor, Medical Wing 7. Do not touch anything important." As Taimin walked away, he heard her speaking to another Valdorian staff member. "Another primitive human. I do not understand why the council allows them here. They barely understand their own medicine, let alone ours." The other alien laughed, a sound like crystal chimes. "They are useful for cleaning and carrying things. Sometimes the patients find their simple nature comforting. Think of them as therapeutic pets." Taimin kept walking, his face showing no reaction to their words. But his eyes continued to observe everything around him. He watched how the Scalathi medics moved their 4 arms in perfect coordination. He noticed how the Nerion healers adjusted their harmonic frequencies for different species. He saw how the wisp entities could detect illness just by floating near a patient. The medical wing buzzed with activity. Patients from dozens of species lay on floating beds that adjusted automatically to their physiology. Alien doctors moved between them with instruments that looked more like art than medicine, scanners that projected holographic diagnoses, energy fields that knitted tissue back together, machines that could regrow entire organs in minutes. Elder Kiwu stood in the center of it all like a conductor directing an orchestra. He was ancient even by Valdorian standards, his blue skin marked with the silver patterns that showed great age and wisdom. His 6 arms moved constantly, directing treatments and examining data streams that floated in the air around him. "You must be the human caretaker," he said, without looking up from a holographic display of someone's internal organs. "I am Kiwu, chief medical elder of this facility." "My name is Taimin," the human replied with a small bow. "I am honored to work here." Kiwu finally looked at him, his glowing eyes studying Taimin like he might study a interesting but ultimately unimportant specimen. "Yes. Well, your duties are simple. You will clean patient rooms, deliver meals, and provide basic comfort to patients who request it. You will not touch any medical equipment. You will not attempt to diagnose or treat any condition. You will observe and learn, but you will not interfere with real medicine." "I understand," Taimin said quietly. "Good." Kiwu turned back to his work. "Report to Supervisor Yeltani for your assignments. She will show you which areas are appropriate. For your level, Supervisor Yeltani was a short, round Valdorian with kind eyes. She seemed less dismissive than the others, but still spoke to Taemin slowly, as if he might not understand complex concepts. "Humans are still new to galactic society," she explained as she led him through the facility. "Your species has much to learn. But you can be helpful in simple ways. Patients sometimes appreciate a gentle touch or a kind word. Your primitive nature can be comforting to those who are frightened by advanced treatments." She showed him the supply rooms, the patient, kitchens, and the cleaning stations. Everything was automated, but someone still needed to monitor the systems and handle special requests. That someone would be Taemin. "This floor treats the most important patients," Yeltani continued. "Diplomats, nobles, military leaders. They expect the highest level of care. You must be especially careful here." Through the transparent walls, Taemin could see into treatment rooms where miracles happened daily. A Skalathi general was having his damaged armor fused back into his exoskeleton. A Nereon artist was having her crystalline structure realigned after an accident. A Wisp philosopher was being treated for energy depletion in a chamber filled with pure light. "The doctors here are the finest in the galaxy," Yeltani said with pride. "They have studied for centuries. They use instruments that can see into the quantum structure of living cells. They can cure diseases that your species has never even imagined." Taemin nodded and listened, but his eyes kept moving. He watched how different species responded to treatments. He noticed which instruments the doctors chose for different conditions. He saw how they adjusted their techniques based on patient reactions. "Your first shift starts tomorrow," Yeltani said as they completed the tour. "Remember, you are here to serve, not to interfere. Leave the real work to those who understand it." That evening, Taemin sat in the small quarters assigned to him. Through his window, he could see the city of New Valdoria spreading out below, its crystal towers glowing in the darkness. Ships moved between the buildings like schools of luminous fish. He pulled out a small tablet, one of the few personal items he had brought from Earth. On it were medical texts, research papers, and case studies. But these were written in languages the aliens did not recognize, filled with knowledge they did not expect a simple human to possess. Taemin read quietly, occasionally making notes in the margins. Tomorrow he would begin his work as a caretaker. He would clean and serve and observe. And perhaps, if he was very careful and very patient, he would find a way to help in ways the advanced alien doctors never expected. Outside his window, the crystal spire continued its work, healing the galaxy one patient at a time. Inside his room, a human who was much more than he appeared prepared to join that mission in his own quiet way. The third week of Taemin's work at the Crystal Spire brought unusual excitement to the medical facility. Word spread quickly through the halls that someone very important was coming. The staff moved with nervous energy, checking equipment twice, and preparing the finest treatment rooms. Taemin was cleaning the windows of the main medical wing when the ship arrived. It was massive and black, with red markings that looked like battle scars painted across its hull. The ship moved with predatory grace, landing on the highest platform of the Crystal Spire like a giant bird of prey settling on its perch. "Thrakari," whispered one of the Valdorian nurses, her 6 arms trembling slightly. A Thrakari royal ship. Taemin had heard of the Thrakari during his weeks at the facility. They were legendary warriors, a species that had conquered half the galaxy through pure fighting skill and incredible healing abilities. Their bodies could recover from almost any wound. They could regrow lost limbs in days and survive injuries that would kill most other species. The airlock opened with a hiss of escaping atmosphere. Out stepped the most imposing figure Taemin had ever seen. The being stood nearly 3 meters tall with dark red skin that looked like polished stone. Thick muscles covered every part of his frame. His eyes glowed yellow like twin suns, and when he moved, it was with the fluid grace of a natural predator. This was Prince Kavron, heir to the Thrakari Empire. But something was wrong with the mighty warrior. As he walked into the medical facility, Taman could see him favoring his left side. There was a stiffness to his movements that spoke of pain carefully hidden, and across his broad chest, visible through the open front of his ceremonial armor, was a jagged scar that ran from his right shoulder to his left hip. The alien medical staff rushed to greet their royal patient. Elder Kiwu himself came down. From his office, all 6 arms spread in the traditional Valdorian welcome gesture. "Your Highness," Kaiwu said, his musical voice filled with respect. "The Crystal Spire is honored by your presence. We have prepared our finest treatment suite for your needs." Prince Kavron nodded curtly. When he spoke, his voice was deep and gravelly, like distant thunder. "Elder Kiwu, your reputation reaches even to the Thrakari homeworld. I come seeking your expertise for a matter that has puzzled our own healers." As they walked through the facility, other patients and staff stopped to stare. The prince's presence filled the space around him like a physical force. Even injured, he radiated the kind of power that had made his species the most feared warriors in the galaxy. They entered the premium treatment room, a circular chamber with walls of pure crystal that could display any environment the patient found healing. Advanced medical scanners hung from the ceiling like sleeping metal spiders, ready to examine every molecule of a patient's body. "Please, Your Highness," Kiwu gestured to the examination platform, "if you would allow us to scan the affected area?" Prince Kavron removed his armor with practiced efficiency. The scar on his chest was even more shocking when fully revealed. It was not the clean line of an energy weapon or the precise cut of a surgical blade. Instead, it looked organic, almost like a bite mark, with rough edges that spoke of tearing, rather than cutting, but what made it truly mysterious was that it existed at all. Thrakari skin was known to heal completely from any wound. Their cellular regeneration was so advanced that they rarely even bore scars from the most terrible battles. Yet this mark remained, red and angry-looking, as if it were a fresh wound. Despite clearly being old, Dr. Veltaka, the insectoid medical genius, activated the quantum scanners. Beams of blue light played across the prince's chest, collecting data that appeared as floating holographic displays around the room. The 4-armed Scalathi surgeon, Dr. Ral Neth, ran electromagnetic field analyses. Surgeon Prime Nex 741, more machine than organic being, deployed microscopic probe nanites to examine the scar tissue at the cellular level. Timon watched from the corner where he was quietly organizing medical supplies. He had learned to make himself nearly invisible during important procedures, but his eyes missed nothing. He saw how the prince's jaw tightened when certain areas of the scar were examined. He noticed how the warrior's hands clenched into fists when the pain peaked. "Fascinating," Dr. Veltaka buzzed, her compound eyes reflecting the scanner displays. "The cellular structure shows signs of interrupted regeneration. Something is preventing the natural healing process. The quantum resonance patterns are completely abnormal," added Dr. Ralneth, his 4 arms dancing over control surfaces. "I have never seen anything like this in Thrakari physiology." Surgeon Prime Nex 741's electronic voice crackled as he spoke. "Nanite analysis confirms foreign protein structures integrated into the wound site. However, they do not match any known pathogen in our databases." Elder Kiwu studied the data with growing concern. "Your Highness, when did you receive this injury?" Prince Kavron's yellow eyes darkened slightly. 3 years ago, during a diplomatic mission. The wound appeared minor at first. I expected it to heal within hours as all my injuries do. Instead, it has remained unchanged ever since." "And the source of the wound?" Kaiwu asked carefully. "An animal attack," the prince said after a brief hesitation. "We encountered local wildlife that was more aggressive than anticipated. The creature managed to wound me before we could neutralize the threat." The medical team exchanged glances. animal attacks were usually trivial matters for advanced species. Their databases contained information on dangerous predators from thousands of worlds, and treatments for biological toxins and venoms were well established. "Can you identify the species?" Dr. Veltaka asked. Prince Kavron shook his head. It was unlike anything in our military databases, large, reptilian, with powerful jaws and venomous saliva. The planet was primitive. We did not expect to encounter anything that could harm a Thrakari warrior. For the next 6 hours, the greatest medical minds in the facility worked to understand the mysterious wound. They ran every test known to galactic medicine. They consulted databases containing the medical knowledge of hundreds of civilizations. They even brought in specialists from other floors of the Crystal Spire. Nothing worked. The scanners could detect the anomaly, but could not identify its source. The regeneration chambers designed to boost natural healing had no effect. Even experimental treatments using quantum field manipulation failed to make any progress. As the day wore on, Prince Kavron's patience began to wear thin. The proud warrior was clearly frustrated by his body's failure to heal itself. His movements became more agitated, and his yellow eyes flashed with barely controlled anger. "Your Highness," Elder Kiwu said finally, his voice heavy with regret, "I must admit that this condition is beyond our current understanding. However, I assure you that we will continue working on the problem. Perhaps with more time and research." "Time," the prince growled. "I have given this wound 3 years. My own healers have studied it for months. Now your advanced facility cannot even identify what causes it." He stood and began putting his armor back on. "Perhaps the great Crystal Spire is not as advanced as the galaxy believes." From his corner, Taemin watched the prince prepare to leave. Something about the description of the wound nagged at him. Large, reptilian, powerful jaws, venomous saliva, primitive planet. The pattern of the scar looked familiar somehow, though. He could not quite place why. As Prince Kavron walked toward the door, he paused and looked directly at Taemin. For a moment, their eyes met across the treatment room. The human saw pain in those yellow eyes, and frustration, and something else that might have been hope. Then the moment passed, and the prince was gone, leaving behind only the echo of his footsteps and a medical mystery that had stumped the finest minds in the galaxy. The days following Prince Kavron's first visit brought a wave of activity to the Crystal Spire. Elder Kiwu called in specialists from across the galaxy. Ships arrived daily carrying medical experts who had heard about the impossible case of the Thrakari prince who could not heal. Dr. Zephyra came from the Centauri Medical Institute, famous for her work with regenerative disorders. Professor Moltion arrived from the academic worlds, carrying databases of every known biological toxin in the galaxy. Even the mysterious flux healers from the edge worlds sent a representative, a being of pure energy who communicated through color changes. Prince Kavron endured examination after examination with growing impatience. Each day brought new tests, new theories, and new failures. The quantum cellular analyzers found nothing. The bioharmonic resonance chambers had no effect. Even the experimental time dilution healing pods, which could accelerate natural healing, by 1,000 times, left the scar completely unchanged. Taemin watched it all from the shadows. His duties took him throughout the medical facility, cleaning rooms, delivering supplies, and providing comfort to patients. But his attention kept returning to the mystery of the unhealable wound. During his breaks, he would access the facility's public databases, learning about Thrakari physiology and regenerative medicine. The information was basic, meant for non-medical staff, but it painted a clear picture. Thrakari warriors could recover from almost any injury. They had evolved on a brutal world where only the strongest survived, developing healing abilities that bordered on miraculous. Yet something was preventing Prince Kavron's natural regeneration, something the most advanced medical technology in the galaxy could not identify or understand. On the 7th day of futile testing, Taemin was cleaning the treatment rooms late at night when he heard footsteps in the corridor. Prince Kavron walked alone through the medical wing, his movements restless and frustrated. The proud warrior had dismissed his guards hours ago, preferring to brood in solitude. The prince entered the main treatment room and stood before the large crystal window that looked out over the city. His reflection in the transparent surface showed the jagged scar across his chest, red and angry in the soft light. Taemin hesitated in the doorway. According to facility rules, he should not interact with patients without permission. But something in the prince's posture, the way his shoulders slumped with defeat, touched the human's heart. "Your Highness," Taemin said quietly, speaking in the common galactic language. "I am sorry to disturb you." Prince Kavron turned, his yellow eyes flashing with surprise and then annoyance. "Human, what do you want? I thought your kind was forbidden from the treatment areas during off hours." "I was cleaning," Taemin replied simply. "I can leave if you prefer to be alone." The prince studied him for a long moment. "You are the caretaker. I have seen watching the examinations, always in the corners, always observing. Do you find my condition entertaining?" "No, Your Highness. I find it troubling." Something in Taemin's tone made the prince's expression soften slightly. "Troubling. Yes, that is one word for it. 3 years of the finest healers in my empire could not help me. Now a week of the galaxy's greatest medical minds has produced nothing but more questions." Taemin moved closer, his movements careful and non-threatening. "May I ask you something about the injury?" Prince Kavron laughed bitterly. "Why not? Everyone else has asked their questions. A human's curiosity cannot make things worse." "The planet where you were wounded," Taemin said, slowly. "Can you describe it?" "Primitive. Mostly water, with large land masses covered in vegetation. The dominant species was barely capable of spaceflight. We were conducting routine reconnaissance when the incident occurred." Taemin felt his pulse quicken. "The creature that attacked you. You said it was reptilian, large, maybe 4 meters long. Brownish scales, powerful tail, massive head with rows of sharp teeth. It moved on 4 legs, but could rear up on its hind limbs. The saliva was thick and foul-smelling. The human's breathing became shallow. The description was eerily familiar, bringing back memories from his time on Earth. But he needed to be certain. "The bite pattern," he said carefully. "Did it grab and shake, or was it more of a crushing bite?" Prince Kavron's eyes narrowed. "How could you possibly know that? The creature seized my chest and shook me like a piece of meat, its teeth punctured, deep, and the saliva burned like acid." Taemin stepped closer to the prince, his professional instincts overriding his caution. "Your Highness, would you permit me to examine the wound?" "You!" The prince's voice carried disbelief. "A human caretaker wants to examine what the galaxy's finest doctors cannot understand." "Please," Taemin said simply. "I may recognize something they do not." For a long moment they stood in silence. Then, surprising himself, Prince Kavron removed his upper armor and shirt. The scar was fully revealed in the soft crystal light, its edges raised and discolored. Taemin approached slowly, his hands steady despite the magnitude of what he was attempting. He had no scanners, no instruments, no advanced technology. Only his eyes and his experience. He studied the bite pattern carefully, tracing the edges without touching the sensitive tissue. The spacing of the puncture wounds, the depth variation, the way the tears radiated outward from the main bite points. Everything matched his growing suspicion. "The creature's head," he said finally. "Was it broad and flat with the eyes positioned? On top rather than the sides?" Prince Kavron stared at him. "Yes, exactly. How do you know this?" Taemin felt his hands begin to tremble slightly. "And the saliva? Did it seem to prevent clotting?" Did wounds from the bite bleed longer than normal? 4 hours, the prince whispered. My attendants were amazed. Thrakari blood clots almost instantly. But these wounds bled and bled. The human stepped back, his mind racing. The pieces were falling into place, creating a picture that both thrilled and terrified him. He knew what had caused this wound. He knew why it would not heal, and he knew that the implications would shake the very foundations of galactic medicine. Your Highness, he said carefully, I believe I know what attacked you. Prince Kavron grabbed Taymin's shoulders with hands strong enough to crush stone. Tell me. I need to research more to be certain. But if I am right, the creature was from Earth, my home world. The prince's grip tightened. Earth, the primitive world at the edge of known space. Yes. And if I am correct about the species, then I also know why your wound will not heal. The creature's saliva contains compounds that prevent regeneration. Your body cannot overcome them because it has never encountered them before. For the first time since his arrival, hope flickered in Prince Kavron's yellow eyes. You can treat this. Taymin took a deep breath. I think so. But first, I need to convince the medical staff to listen to a human caretaker who claims to know something they do not. The prince smiled, and it was not a pleasant expression. Leave that to me, human. Tomorrow you will have their full attention. As they stood together in the crystal chamber, human and alien united by hope and determination, neither realized that their conversation would change not just medicine, but the galaxy's understanding of humanity itself. The main conference room of the Crystal Spire had never hosted such an unusual gathering. Elder Kiwu sat at the head of the crystal table, his 6 arms folded in skeptical patience. Around him were the galaxy's finest medical minds. Dr. Vel Taka's compound eyes reflected the morning light. Dr. Ralneth's 4 arms tapped nervously on the table surface. Surgeon Prime Nex 741's electronic components hummed quietly in standby mode. And at the far end of the table, looking impossibly small among the alien doctors, sat Taymin. Prince Kavron stood behind the human, his imposing presence the only reason the medical council had agreed to this meeting. The proud Thrakari warrior had made it clear that he would hear what the human had to say, and his word was not to be questioned. This is highly irregular, Elder Kiwu said, his musical voice carrying clear disapproval. A caretaker requesting an audience with the medical council. It goes against all protocol. Protocol has failed, Prince Kavron replied, his deep voice cutting through the alien doctor's objections. 3 years of following proper procedures have brought me no closer to healing. Perhaps it is time to consider irregular approaches. Dr. Veltaka's antennae twitched with agitation. Your Highness, with the greatest respect, this human lacks even basic medical training. How can he possibly contribute to a case that has puzzled specialists from across the galaxy? Taymin had been listening to the debate with growing nervousness, but now he found his voice. May I speak? The room fell silent. Elder Kiwu gestured with one of his arms. Very well, human. You have requested this meeting. Tell us what you believe you know. Taymin stood slowly, his hands steady despite the magnitude of what he was about to reveal. Honorable doctors, you have been searching for the cause of Prince Kavron's condition using the most advanced instruments known to science. You have looked for exotic pathogens, quantum anomalies, and unknown energy signatures, and found nothing, Dr. Ralneth added impatiently, which proves the condition is unprecedented. No, Taymin said quietly. It proves you have been looking in the wrong place. Surgeon Prime Nex 741's optical sensors focused on the human. Explain. Taymin took a deep breath. The wound is not from any energy weapon or alien pathogen. It is from Earth. Specifically, it is a bite from a Komodo dragon. The silence that followed was complete. The alien doctors stared at Taymin as if he had claimed the wound was caused by imaginary creatures. Elder Kiwu was the first to speak. Earth, the primitive world where your species originates. You claim that an animal from your backwater planet could inflict a wound that defies Thrakari regeneration. I do not claim it, Taemin replied. I know it, because I have seen this exact injury pattern before. Dr. Veltaka's compound eyes reflected disbelief. Impossible. Our databases contain information on dangerous predators from thousands of worlds. No terrestrial animal could overcome Thrakari healing capabilities. Taemin moved to the room's holographic display system. With Prince Kavron's permission, he activated an image of the scar. The jagged wound appeared in three-dimensional detail, floating in the center of the room. Look at the bite pattern, Taemin said, pointing to specific areas. The spacing between puncture wounds, the depth variation, the way the tissue was torn rather than cut cleanly. This is not the work of an energy weapon or manufactured blade. He manipulated the display, highlighting different aspects of the wound. The punctures are deeper on one side, showing the creature bit down and twisted. The tears radiate outward, indicating powerful jaw muscles that shook the victim. And see, here, the edges of the wound show signs of chemical burning. The doctors leaned forward despite themselves, studying the analysis. Komodo dragons, Taemin continued, are apex predators on Earth. They grow up to 4 meters in length. Their bite delivers not just physical trauma, but a complex mix of biological compounds through their saliva. Dr. Ralneth's 4 arms gestured dismissively. Biological compounds from a primitive world. How could they possibly affect advanced Thrakari physiology? Because, Taemin said, his voice growing stronger, evolution on Earth followed a completely different path than anywhere else in the galaxy. Our predators developed hunting strategies that the rest of the universe never encountered. He activated another display, this one showing molecular structures. Komodo dragon saliva contains over 50 different bacterial strains, plus anticoagulants, vasodilators, and compounds that prevent cellular regeneration. Together, they create a perfect biological weapon against healing. Surgeon Prime Nex 741 processed the information through his computerized systems. The molecular structures are unlike anything in our medical databases. Exactly, Taemin said. Your scanners were looking for known threats. They could not identify something completely outside galactic medical experience. Elder Kiwu studied the molecular displays with growing interest. These compounds, they would interfere with Thrakari regenerative processes. Not interfere, Taemin corrected. Override. The bacterial infection creates a permanent inflammatory response. The anticoagulants prevent proper clot formation. The regeneration inhibitors stop cellular repair at the genetic level. Prince Kavron's body has been fighting a biological war for 3 years, and losing. The room buzzed with whispered conversations as the alien doctors discussed this revelation among themselves. The evidence was becoming hard to ignore. Dr. Veltaka finally spoke. Even if this diagnosis is correct, how could you possibly know such specific details about this Earth creature? Taemin felt his heart rate increase. This was the moment of truth, the revelation that would change everything. Because I have treated Komodo dragon attacks before, multiple times. Prince Kavron turned to look at the human with new understanding. You are not just a caretaker. No, Your Highness, I am a doctor, a trauma surgeon, specialized in exotic animal attacks. I spent 15 years working in emergency medicine on Earth before volunteering for this position. The alien doctors erupted in shocked exclamations. Elder Kiwu raised all 6 arms for silence. You claimed to be a simple caretaker. I never claimed anything, Taemin replied calmly. I accepted the position offered to me. But I am Dr. Taemin Park, former chief of emergency trauma surgery at Seoul National University Hospital. Dr. Ralneth's 4 arms trembled with indignation. You deceived us, concealed your qualifications. I revealed exactly what you were prepared to accept. Taemin said. When I applied for positions as a doctor, I was told that humans lacked the sophistication for real medicine. When I applied as a caretaker, I was accepted immediately. The truth of his words hung in the air like an accusation. The alien medical establishment had dismissed human capabilities so completely that they had never bothered to discover what humans actually knew. Prince Kavron stepped forward. Dr. Taemin, you have treated this condition before. Yes, Your Highness, but those cases were fresh wounds. Your injury has been festering for 3 years. It will require a more complex treatment approach. Elder Kiwoo leaned forward, his skepticism warring with desperate hope. What treatment? Taemin looked around the room at the assembled medical experts, these beings who had dismissed his species as primitive. I can cure Prince Kavron's condition, but I will need your help. Human medical knowledge alone is not enough. We must combine Earth's biological expertise with your advanced technology. You want us to work with you, Dr. Veltaka said slowly, as equals. I want us to save a patient's life, Taemin replied simply. Everything else is politics, Prince. Kavron smiled, the expression fierce and hopeful. Then let us begin. The revelation of Taemin's true identity sent shockwaves through the crystal spire. Within hours, word had spread to every level of the facility. The human caretaker was actually a doctor. More than that, he was a specialist in exactly the type of injury that had stumped the galaxy's finest minds. But the full truth was even more extraordinary than anyone realized. Elder Kiwoo called for a private meeting with Taemin in his office, a circular chamber at the top of the crystal spire. Through the transparent walls, the city of New Valdoria spread out below them like a sea of glowing crystals. Dr. Taemin, Kiwoo began, his 6 arms arranged in a gesture of formal respect. Your diagnosis of Prince Kavron's condition has forced us to reconsider many assumptions, but I find myself troubled by questions that demand answers. Taemin sat across from the elder, his hands folded calmly in his lap. Ask whatever you need to know. How did you recognize a Komodo dragon bite so precisely? Prince Kavron described the attack occurring 3 years ago on a planet the Thrakari refused to name officially. Yet you identified the creature and its biological effects with absolute certainty. The human was quiet for a long moment, weighing his words carefully. Because I was there when it happened. Kiwoo's glowing eyes widened. Impossible. Humans were not part of galactic society 3 years ago. First contact with your species occurred only 18 months ago. Official first contact, Taemin corrected gently. The reality is more complicated. He stood and walked to the crystal window, looking out at the alien cityscape. The Thrakari have been conducting reconnaissance missions in our solar system for 5 years. They were testing human defenses, studying our technology, evaluating whether we posed any threat to their expansion plans. You are saying they visited Earth in secret. Multiple times, usually their scouts avoided populated areas, but sometimes things went wrong. Equipment failures, navigation errors, encounters with unexpected dangers. Taemin turned back to face Kiwoo. 3 years ago, a Thrakari scouting party landed on an island in Indonesia. They were investigating human industrial capabilities when they encountered local wildlife. The pieces began falling into place in Kiwoo's mind. Prince Kavron was part of this mission. He was young then, newly commissioned as a military scout. The mission was supposed to be routine surveillance, but Komodo dragons are ambush predators, and the Thrakari had no experience with Earth biology. Taemin's voice took on the clinical tone of a doctor recounting a case. The dragon attacked without warning. Prince Kavron fought it off, but not before suffering severe bite wounds to his chest. His team extracted him quickly, but they were far from Thrakari medical facilities, so they sought help on Earth. Earth governments had been aware of alien visitors for months. A secret protocol existed for exactly this situation. When the Thrakari requested emergency medical assistance, they were directed to a covert facility in South Korea. Kiwoo leaned forward, fascinated despite himself. And you were part of this facility? I was the lead trauma surgeon for the Xenobiology Emergency Response Team. Our job was to provide medical care to injured aliens while maintaining absolute secrecy. The elder's mind reeled at the implications. Your species has been studying alien physiology for years. We had to, Taemin said simply. We knew we were not alone in the universe, and we knew that eventually we would need to interact with other species. Medical emergencies don't wait for diplomatic negotiations. He returned to his seat, his expression thoughtful. Prince Kavron arrived at our facility in critical condition. The dragon's bite had caused massive tissue damage, and he was suffering from severe blood loss despite his species' clotting abilities. But you saved him. We stabilized him, cleaned the wounds, administered antibiotics, provided supportive care while his natural regeneration kicked in. Within hours, he was healing. Normally, we thought the treatment was successful. Kiwoo processed this information carefully, but the regeneration inhibitors in the dragon's saliva had not been completely neutralized. We didn't know they existed, Taemin admitted. This was our first encounter with Thrakari physiology. We treated the visible symptoms but missed the underlying biological warfare happening at the cellular level. The bacterial infection became chronic. Worse than that, the dragon's saliva created a biological time bomb. The initial healing was superficial. Underneath, the bacterial strains were adapting to Thrakari biology, the anticoagulants were integrating into his circulatory system, and the regeneration inhibitors were binding permanently to his cellular repair mechanisms. Kiwoo felt a chill of professional respect. Earth medicine identified all this. Not at the time, Taemin said honestly. We learned about Komodo dragon toxicity the hard way, through trial and error over many cases. Local Indonesian populations had dealt with dragon attacks for centuries, but their traditional treatments were dismissed by modern medicine as primitive folk remedies, until you discovered they actually worked. Better than worked. Indonesian healers had developed the most effective treatment for dragon envenomation in the galaxy, using nothing but local plants and traditional knowledge. We spent 2 years reverse engineering their techniques and combining them with modern medical technology. The elder sat back in his chair, overwhelmed by the implications. How many humans possess this level of xenobiological knowledge? More than the galaxy realizes. The Xenobiology Emergency Response Team operated in 12 countries. We treated injured aliens from 6 different species. Each encounter taught us more about galactic physiology and biochemistry. And now you are here, disguised as a simple caretaker. Taemin smiled slightly. Not disguised. I genuinely wanted to work in galactic medicine. When official first contact occurred, I applied for medical positions throughout the galaxy. Every application was rejected. I was told that humans lacked the sophistication for real medical work. So, you applied as a caretaker. I knew that someday someone would need the kind of knowledge that only humans possess. Earth's evolutionary path is unique in the galaxy. Our predators, our diseases, our biological systems developed in isolation. That makes us outsiders, but it also makes us invaluable. Kiwoo stood and walked to his own window, looking out at the alien city he had called home for centuries. Dr. Taemin, what you have told me changes everything. If humans possess advanced knowledge of alien biology, if you have been treating galactic species for years, then maybe it is time to reconsider what primitiveness really means, Taemin finished softly. The elder turned back to face the human doctor. Can you truly cure Prince Kavron? With your help, yes. But more than that, I can teach you how Earth's medical traditions might benefit other patients. Our species may be new to the galactic community, but we are not new to the practice of medicine. For the first time since meeting Taimin, Elder Kiwu performed the full Valdorian bow of respect, all 6 arms extended in acknowledgement of a medical peer. "Dr. Taimin Park," he said formally, "the Crystal Spire would be honored to work with you as Chief of Xenobiology, if you will accept the position." Outside the crystal walls, the alien city glowed in the evening light, unaware that the balance of galactic medicine had just shifted forever. The treatment of Prince Kavron began at dawn the next day. The main medical theater of the Crystal Spire had been transformed into something unprecedented. Human medical knowledge merged with alien technology in ways that neither species had imagined possible. Dr. Taimin stood at the center of it all, no longer a humble caretaker, but revealed as the xenobiology expert he had always been. Around him, the galaxy's finest doctors worked not as his supervisors, but as his colleagues. "The first phase requires neutralizing the bacterial infection," Taimin explained as he reviewed the treatment protocol. "But traditional antibiotics will not work. These bacterial strains have been adapting to Thrakari biology for 3 years. Elder Kiwu monitored the holographic displays that showed the prince's cellular activity. "What do you recommend?" "A compound derived from Indonesian bloodwood extract, modified using your quantum molecular synthesizers. The original plant, evolved specifically to combat Komodo dragon bacteria. Your technology can enhance its effectiveness by a factor of 1,000. Dr. Veltaka worked at the synthesis station, her compound eyes tracking dozens of chemical processes simultaneously. The molecular structure is unlike anything in our pharmaceutical databases. How did Earth botanists discover these properties?" "They didn't discover them," Taimin replied as he prepared the injection matrix. "Indonesian healers have used bloodwood extract for dragon bite treatment for over 1,000 years. They knew it worked long before they understood why, ants." Kavron lay on the treatment platform, his massive frame relaxed under sedation. The angry scar across his chest was highlighted by scanning beams that monitored every aspect of the healing process. Traditional knowledge, Surgeon Prime Nex 741, processed the concept through his analytical systems. Medical techniques developed through empirical observation rather than theoretical understanding. "Some of the most effective treatments in human medicine began that way," Taimin said as he began the injection sequence. "Willow bark for pain. Relief became aspirin. Foxglove for heart conditions became digitalis. Moldy bread became penicillin. Dr. Ralneth used his 4 arms to operate the molecular scanners. The bacterial colonies are responding. Their reproduction rate is decreasing rapidly." "Good. Now we begin phase 2. Taimin moved to a second synthesis station where a different compound was being prepared. "The anticoagulants have integrated into Prince Kavron's circulatory system. We need to neutralize them without disrupting normal Thrakari clotting functions." "How is this possible?" Elder Kiwu asked. "The compounds have been circulating for years." "Turmeric," Taimin said simply. The alien doctors exchanged confused glances. Dr. Veltaka's antennae twitched with uncertainty. "Turmeric and earth. Spice contains curcumin, which has powerful anti-inflammatory properties and can reverse certain types of blood chemistry alterations. Combined with your bioharmonic resonance treatment, it should restore normal circulation patterns." As the second phase treatment began, the medical team watched in fascination as Prince Kavron's vital signs improved. The chronic inflammation that had plagued him for 3 years began to subside. His blood chemistry started returning to normal. "Thrakari parameters. Phase 3 is the most critical," Taimin announced. "We must reactivate his cellular regeneration while the bacterial infection and circulatory problems are being resolved." "The regeneration inhibitors are still present," Dr. Ralneth observed. "Our quantum cellular repair systems have no effect on them." "Because you're using the wrong frequency," Taimin said, moving to the regeneration control station. "These Inhibitors respond to specific bioelectrical signals. Indonesian traditional medicine uses acupuncture to stimulate regenerative responses in dragon bite victims. Surgeon Primenex 741's optical sensors focused on the human. You want us to use primitive needle therapy in conjunction with quantum cellular regeneration. I want us to use a 5,000-year-old medical technique that has been refined and proven effective, enhanced by your quantum field manipulation technology. The combination was extraordinary to witness. Ancient acupuncture points, mapped by traditional Chinese and Indonesian medicine, were stimulated not by needles, but by precisely controlled quantum energy fields. The bioelectrical signals that had been disrupted by dragon venom were gradually restored to their normal patterns. Cellular regeneration is beginning, Elder Ki-Wu announced with barely contained excitement. I can see new tissue formation at the wound site. For the first time in 3 years, Prince Kavron's natural healing abilities began to function normally. The scar tissue started to break down and regenerate. Healthy Thrakari's skin began growing over the ancient wound. How long until complete? Healing? The prince asked, now awake and aware of the progress. With your natural regeneration restored, perhaps 6 hours, Taemin replied. But the real healing began the moment we combined human botanical knowledge with alien medical technology. Dr. Veltaka watched the cellular regeneration displays with wonder. This approach to medicine, using natural compounds enhanced by advanced technology, it is completely outside our normal practices. But it works, Elder Ki-Wu said firmly. Not only works, but succeeds where our traditional methods failed completely. As the hours passed, Prince Kavron's recovery accelerated. The scar that had defied the galaxy's greatest medical minds gradually faded away, leaving only healthy skin. His strength returned, along with his natural confidence and vitality. Dr. Taemin, the prince said as the final phase of treatment concluded, you have given me back my life. How can the Thrakari Empire repay such a debt? By understanding that medical knowledge comes in many forms, Taemin replied. Traditional, healing, scientific research, technological innovation. No single approach has all the answers. Elder Ki-Wu approached the human doctor with deep respect. Dr. Park, I formally offer you the position of Chief of Xenobiological Medicine at the Crystal Spire. Your insights have revolutionized our understanding of cross-species treatment. I accept, Taemin said simply, but I have one condition. Name it. I want to establish an exchange program between Earth's traditional healers and galactic medical facilities. There are shamans in the Amazon, herbalists in rural China, traditional doctors across Africa who possess knowledge that could benefit species throughout the galaxy. Dr. Ralneth's 4 arms gestured in amazement. You want to bring primitive healers to advanced medical centers. I want to bring experienced healers to learning centers, Taemin corrected. Medicine is not about primitive versus advanced. It is about understanding life in all its forms and finding ways to preserve and restore it. 6 months later, the Crystal Spire had become a different place. Human doctors worked alongside alien physicians as equals. Traditional Earth remedies were studied and enhanced using galactic technology. Medical techniques that had seemed impossible became routine procedures. Taemin stood in his new office, looking out at the city below. Ships from dozens of worlds docked at the medical facility daily, but now many of them carried patients specifically, seeking the human approach to medicine. Elder Ki-Wu joined him at the window. The Galactic Medical Council has formally recognized Earth medicine as a major medical tradition. Your species is being invited to join the Advanced Civilization's medical exchange. Good, Taemin said simply. But the real success isn't official. Recognition. It's the patients we've helped by combining different types of knowledge. Through the crystal walls, they could see Prince Kavron in the main plaza, completely healed and demonstrating Thrakari combat techniques to a group of interested medical students from various species. The scar that had defined his life for 3 years was gone, replaced by renewed confidence in both his own abilities and the power of cooperative medicine. "You have changed more than medicine," Kai Wu observed. "You have changed how the galaxy sees humanity." Taemin smiled. "We never wanted to be seen as superior or inferior. We just wanted to be seen as useful, as partners who could contribute something valuable to the galactic community. And now you are." Outside, the universe continued its ancient dance of stars and worlds and civilizations learning to work together. And in one small medical facility on Valdoria Prime, the future of galactic healthcare was being written by doctors of many species working toward a common goal. The healing had begun.